let's make a delicious meatloaf and smoke it up out on the Weber Kettle. Yeah, meatloaf is traditionally done in the oven, but let me tell you, when I get the chance, I'm doing it outside on the grill. And I love the Weber Kettle for this. First, we have to get everything mixed up and our meatloaf formed. And we're starting with 5 pounds of ground beef here. This is a 73-27. You can use 80-20 if you want, but this extra fat I like, especially out on the grill where that fat's going to sort of drain away any excess, but it gives you a lot of moisture inside. First thing I'm going to add to this is about 3 tablespoons of barbecue sauce. Just pick your favorite barbecue sauce. And for those wondering, I'm just using some classic SBR. Next up, 1 medium carrot that's been grated, 1 small onion that's been grated. Now you can use a white onion, a red onion, a yellow onion. I just used a white onion. 3½ teaspoons of kosher salt, 4 teaspoons of granulated garlic, 2 teaspoons of a coarsely ground black pepper, 4 teaspoons of smoked paprika, 2 chipotle chili peppers and adobo sauce that I've chopped up, 2 eggs that have been beaten, and I'm going to add about a cup of breadcrumbs right now. I can always add more. And we get in here and we mix. This is that really important stage where you want everything to be distributed. Take your time here. Do any of you have any favorite ingredients you put in meatloaf? If you do, drop it in the comments below. I always like to hear new things, family recipes and things like that. You want to make sure you don't get just big pieces of ground beef like that. You want to make sure stuff is mixed in. So break that up. I know some people say, oh, if you work it too much, it gets tough. I have never once in my life found that to be true. Not once. Not in this, not in meatballs, nothing. So maybe I'm doing it wrong. I think there are a lot of rules in cooking that have just been accepted. Now, I don't know why they've been accepted, but honestly, the only rule that I think is important is, well, there's 2 of them. And this is for me. Enjoy what you're doing when you're cooking and make food that people enjoy. That's it. However you get to the end result, as long as you've enjoyed it, that's what matters to me. We're almost there. I can feel this. It's nice and cold. Things are looking pretty well mixed here. And I don't think we're going to need to add any more breadcrumbs. Now, maybe just a little. I'm going to add a little more. Maybe another ½ cup. That's looking good. It's already smelling great. So let's get our meatloaf formed. All right, I have a baking sheet out here with some parchment paper in it. Now, the parchment paper is just going to be to help us form this meatloaf. I'm going to transfer it actually from this parchment paper to my grilling rack. This is great for doing meatloaf on the grill. It has openings here so grease can drop through so you don't have excess grease that it's sitting in. And it makes it much easier to get on and get off of the grill. But first I want to form it. Get our pile of meat here, and I am just going to try and form this into a relatively even meatloaf shape. The classic sort of football. I'm not worried about being too thick here, too thin here. Some people like a little more well done. They can have the ends. All right, I'm going to lift the parchment paper aside here for a second. Get our grilling tray. And the reason I didn't form it directly on here is because you have these holes, and if you're pressing and everything, some of that meat's just going to get pressed down through those perforations. And then we're just going to lift it on here, finalize our form without pressing down. That is looking good to me. Now this is going in the refrigerator for about an hour just to kind of set up and let those flavors meld in there. Then we will fire up the Weber Kettle and smoke this hunk of meat up. All right, the Weber Kettle is up to temp. My target state is 250 degrees. I'm using the Mallory firewall. and the Mallory cast iron grate. Now my target internal temperature today is going to be 155 degrees. 165 is the recommended safe temperature. I've found for me, if I pull it at 155, I get to the exact doneness that I want on a meatloaf this size, but you got to choose what's best for you. So let's go ahead and get our meatloaf on. Temperature probe in, trying to get right dead center here, the thickest part. We're going to get a piece of hickory on here. Want to brush a little bit of that Sweet Baby Ray's on the outside now. That's looking pretty good to me. All right, we're going to get the lid on, get smoking, and we'll come back in 45 minutes, give it a check. We are 45 minutes into this cook. Temp's been holding really steady right at 250. Our internal temp is around 64 degrees. Let's go ahead and take a look at our meatloaf. That's looking good. Even though we have the sauce on there, you can just start to see that color developing on the meat beneath it. I'm going to add another piece of hickory here. With that sauce on the surface there, we definitely don't need to spritz. So we're going to go ahead and close this up, keep smoking. We'll come back in 45 minutes, give it another look, and wonder how close we'll be to our finished temp by then. See you back here in 45 minutes. We just hit the 90-minute mark. Temp's been holding really steady right at 250. Internals at about 101. So let's check our meatloaf. That is looking good. I am really liking the looks of that. All right, I'm just going to let this ride now until we hit that internal temperature of 155. Then we'll come back, get it off here, and then we're going to let it rest for about 20 minutes loosely covered with foil. But for now, time to let this continue smoking. See you back here when we hit 155 internal. All right, we are just about to hit 155 internal, and we are just under 3 hours total cook time. So let's go ahead and get our meatloaf off. That's a good looking meatloaf. So I'm going to get this off of here, get it inside, tent it loosely with foil, let it rest for about 20 minutes. Then we'll cut in and have a taste. Well, here is our meatloaf, and I gotta say, it is looking really good. Great color on the outside. I love when you can get that sort of mahogany color. Adding a little bit of sauce on the surface does help that, but also what really helps is the smoke. That hickory smoke really works well on something like this. So let's cut right down the middle. Let's open this up. Oh, yes. That looks terrific. Move this piece out of the way. Wow, that looks so good. We got a mini juice-a-lanch from Meatloaf. That's pretty good. Let's go ahead and have a taste now. Cheers. That is so flavorful, so juicy, yet it still holds together. Like if I pick this up, it's not going to fall apart. Sometimes if there's so much moisture in there, like we had the carrots and the onions, a lot of it grated up, you can get a little bit of instability in there and it'll want to fall apart, but binders like the breadcrumbs and the eggs really do help. And man, this is just terrific. Just look at that. The great thing about meatloaf is you don't need a huge smoker to do this. You can do it like I did on the kettle. You could do it on any grill you have as long as you can create an indirect zone. And one of the reasons I like a lot of times doing it 250, maybe 275, but really 250 is a sweet spot for me. It gives it time to cook without drying out. You're not searing the outside and all that juice is wanting to just get out. So as soon as you cut into it, it's gone. Or you stick a temp probe in there and you get squirts out of there. That 250 target temp really works for me when I'm doing meatloaf like this. Yeah, I know meatloaf is traditionally made in the oven, and I make it in the oven a lot of the time, but if I get a chance to do it on the grill, that's the way I'm going to do it.